Hello everybody, welcome to Back Issues. I'm Sal.
I'm Ethan. And I'm Ben.
Today we're going to talk about Spider-Man 2099 from Peter David and Rick Leonardi with one guest spot by Kelly Jones.
It's like a critical issue in
No. But then again, none of it is. I think the idea was that Stan Lee had an idea for a character named Ravage, who was like a warrior from the future.
And he was ravaged by time.
No, he's just from his own time, yeah.
Oh.
The way like we're ravaged by time.
Yeah,
Right.
At that time.
So any of us could be Ravager.
Precisely. Ravage.
Ravage.
Yes. Ravager makes sense. His name's Ravage. And in fact, in the...
I am the verb. I am not the noun.
No. Yes. So I was reading Carnage way back in the day, and I had I think a family member gave me one of the earliest trades, and it collected the 3-issue first appearance of Carnage, Venom's son, kind of. And in the beginning of it, they talked about how they came up with the name Carnage. And in one of them was Ravage, and they were like, oh, we can't use Ravage because Stan Lee wants to tell a story about Ravage. And then they ultimately settled on Carnage, and thank God they did.
Yeah, right?
Because Ravage has such a rich, full history, and we all love that character so much, it would have ruined him.
Yeah, if we confused Ravage with
Carnage.
Yeah.
Or if they had switched names or whatever. Yeah.
I was just thinking that Carnage is just a way better name.
It is a way better name than Ravage. I mean, well...
Maybe that's why it died. He's like, I tried telling a story about Ravage, no one cared.
Nobody gave a shit. And indeed they didn't. And in fact, it's one of the only reasons why this guy is the thing everyone likes and remembers, and why he's still in some way kind of relevant. They did try... I think the idea was... So Stan wanted to do Ravage. Eventually he wound up doing it. And they were like, okay. And then they were like, oh, but wouldn't it be cool to do a whole thing? Set the Marvel Universe in the future? And do an alternate thing? But they also were very careful to say, this is the future.
As opposed to what?
This is the future of Marvel. Well, because they've done Days of Future Past, and they've done Age of Apocalypse.
You mean this is the future? Mm-hmm. This not the alternate futures of
Nope, it's what's going to happen in the year 2099 in the Marvel Universe.
Which is why you don't see all your characters there, because they're dead.
That's right.
Yeah.
And in
Marvel's
fact,
going to last for another friggin' 100 years and not reboot the timeline.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, even if they wanted to make the readers feel like they were part of something that was, real.
Like
it matters.
Look, no matter what happens right now, eventually you're going to get to this.
Right. And in fact, I remember, when Age of Apocalypse happened, and I was like, well, it's just going to go back to the way it was. And people were like, oh, do you see the status quo shit? I'm like, yeah, because they're going to leave Professor X dead forever, and Magneto will have led them. And, the Avengers and Spider-Man are all dead, but the X-Men pervade. No. This is going to be fixed in, 8 issues. It took, 600 issues and only, 2 years, but whatever. The point being, I was still...
They eventually fixed it.
I did not buy Age of Apocalypse. Spider-Man 2099, I was like, whoa. Probably also because of how gritty and frustratingly depressing this is. The whole world of 2099 was really depressing. Right. And
you're like, that's kind of like now.
Yeah, only it's not... We don't have flying cars. So it's actually more depressing. So they came up with this idea of let's develop the year 2099, and they wanted to hear what's really weird is that the editors wanted to hear really, really solid pitches from their writers, which is very different from today. And the writers kind of didn't understand what they wanted. They were just like, what do you... Well, when you envision the year 2099 in this world, what do you want? And the editor was like, whatever you want to do. I want to hear your strongest, bestest pitch. Okay. And then I'll do it. And they're like, yeah, but what does that mean, though? It's
I can do that.
Ethan, we're writing for Marvel.
Just give me an outline.
Yeah, give me some...
Of what?
Yeah, of the future. It's the year 2099.
Yeah, but what's your concept for
That's
the future?
I want to hear your concept.
Oh, I asked you first.
Yeah, it's like they had no ideas, and they were just kind of
I'm a comic book writer. I only write stories within a very well-defined, established universe.
Yeah. Well,
that's not what I do.
Now we're defining a new universe, and I want you to be one of the architects. Stan Lee didn't ask the people who were publishing Timely and Marvel Comics at the time, what Spider-Man was all about. He gave them Spider-Man. Now you give me your Spider-Man.
Go ask Stan Lee.
We
Why
did.
you
He's
asking
writing
me?
Ravage.
Well, wait. So hang on a second. If he's writing Ravage, then he's already writing about the future.
Yeah, but he's got one corner of that universe.
Oh.
We're going to establish the whole universe. We're going to put Ravage in it.
Wait, do I have to fit Ravage in my universe, or can I just make anything in the universe?
Well,
Well, you can't make anything.
Yeah, well,
Ravage has got to work.
Ravage has to work, but he's
We've
in
got
the
to get
future.
Ravage working.
Yes, he's the key to all of this.
Okay, well, tell me more about Ravage.
He sucks. So then they were like, well, let's do something with characters people recognize. So they were like, we're going to launch the 2099 universe with Ravage, Spider-Man, Punisher, and Doctor fucking Doom. What the fuck? God damn it, Spider-Man! This thing, I knew you were going to be a problem.
You said Spider-Man.
I did. We're going to say it a lot, too, you web-crawling jackass.
Okay, except for the fact that they already combined Spider-Man and Punisher with the logo on his chest.
No, that's just a cool spider. It's
And
also
a skull.
It's
Yes.
a skull spider.
It is a skull spider. Yes, but it's also...
If it's a spider skull, then it's that thing from Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time.
Right.
Those assholes.
Which is not that.
Aren't those people
Skulltulas?
supposed to be dead?
They are dead. These are like new versions of them.
Oh, so they're all.
Except for Doctor Doom,
Ah,
who is the original Doctor Doom.
he's somehow.
Yeah.
Wow, he's got to be
Time
really
or-
old.
He actually is younger than he used to be. Yeah, Punisher's so crappy and so stupid, and who cares? Not even worth it. He falls by the wayside. And eventually these books sell well enough. I think they all sold consistently over 100,000 copies.
Oh wow.
Which was pretty low back in 1992.
What?
Yeah.
Well, 92.
Now they would kill for that.
For those numbers.
Spider-Man still sells like over 150 or 100 and like between 130 to 160,000 units.
Yeah, but he's no Batman.
Those two are pretty much neck and neck. But yeah, unless Batman is an event, in which case he sells better.
So if
But
they
yeah.
sold 100,000 copies, that means probably like what 30,000 people, individual people, actually bought them.
Yeah, and they were also hoarding the rest, which is why you can always find copies of the 2099 books.
Which is why
in
you
the back
also
issues bins.
had to buy like multiple issues so that you could get that delicious variant
Oh
cover.
yes, and that's been the case forever. So yeah, I mean it's retailers buying them, and it's also people buying them. But yeah, so those characters were created, and they each had their own like architects working on them. And Doctor Doom's is probably one of the more interesting ones between the three.
Okay.
And because those titles sold well, they eventually made like X-Men 2099, which we'll do one day probably, and Hulk 2099, and
I've never heard of any of these.
Oh, no.
Only Spider-Man 2099. He's the only one I've ever seen.
he's the only one
Yeah.
who's made it. X-Men was horribly boring. That actually, they all were horribly boring. So the idea is, it's the year 2099. There was a time called the Age of Heroes, which ended abruptly, and they're like, something happened, and all the superheroes are fucking dead and gone.
It was a meteor.
Right? It might as well have been. Yeah, it was like the dinosaurs.
This is another future where they're all dead.
Yes.
Where you're like, no, that won't happen.
Right. And in fact...
But no, this is the future.
But this is the future! And
This
in
is
fact,
the future.
Peter David does a Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2099 crossover, where he tells you like the thing that happens that ends the Age of Heroes, and they prevent it.
Oh.
Wait,
So it's what
then
would
that's
have happened.
impossible.
Yeah, but
You
they,
can't
but then
prevent-
they're like, something else must have happened that stopped all the heroes and killed them and blah, blah, blah. Because the records are hazy. The idea was that the thing that happened in the crossover wound up screwing up the technology of the era and killing all the heroes, and so they kind of had to like start over from scratch, which is why everything's kind of like old and worn and lived in, but also in direct contrast to the progress we've made in
Right.
the actual present.
Right.
That sucks almost as much as Terminator 3.
Yeah. The heroes are all dead, and there haven't been any superheroes since then. So, like, let's say it ended in, like, 1995. So from 95 to 2099, no superheroes. And so, as a result, the United States becomes, like, kind of divided, and corporations take over the world. And particularly for the United States, it's like, there's, like, California falls into the ocean, and it's an island.
Oh, it does. Oh,
It's just every
trope.
future thing
Yeah.
just smashed together.
wait, did we finally have the South seceding from the U.S.?
Yeah, like Mexico and part of the southern United States becomes like its own thing. The eastern seaboard is controlled by one company, the west coast is controlled by another company, and these companies are all like at war with each other, and the police force has been privatized and is controlled by these corporations. They're called the public eye. And the public eye is everywhere, and if you have enough money, you can pay like an insurance copay to have police protection.
Ah.
But if you don't, then they don't even care about you.
Right.
And it's very Jetsons-y, where like everything's up here, like literally, and if you go deep down into like the
smog,
into like downtown New York, then there you find the dregs, and there's all these people who like just try to eke out a living with no police protection and no actual law.
Okay.
Even though there technically is a law, and like there's like private firms that are farmed out from the public eye that keep the peace, but they're really just corrupt mercenaries. And so, you know, you're better off dealing with your own problems.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
And their technology down there is actually older and shittier than the technology up here. And that's kind of neat, and we see some of that, and it's really cool. And Rick Leonardi, the artist on this series, was really, really good at drawing two things. Spider-Man 2099 and the technology of his time.
Okay.
And so the public eye, like skyhopper thingies are cool, but like the things that really caught my attention were the downtown terrestrial road vehicles. I really liked them.
Okay.
Probably because like one of my first issues of Spider-Man 2099 was like issue 4 or something. And I was like, what? And it's funny reading it again in succession and being like, oh, that was like a blip in the overall, like the overarching story that was Miguel O'Hara's Spider-Man. Miguel O'Hara is the alter ego of Spider-Man. He's a Irish-Mexican mixed person. Peter David's very careful to make you know that. You know, he's like, no, it's cool, because like he's half Mexican, half Irish, and so that's neat.
Yeah, I've never seen one of those characters before.
Right, and it's like the idea is he's really pushing diversity.
In 1992?
In 1992.
For the future of 2099, which apparently still an issue.
Right.
Like 3 more generations in.
Oh, no, yeah, it's true. And so there's a lot of like people of many different homogenous cultures and such. But the reason why Miguel O'Hara is also like Mexican is because we need to establish where his costume comes from as Spider-Man. He doesn't knit it himself. So let's talk about that in the future.
Is it a luchador mask?
Please tell me it's not.
It is not a luchador mask.
Thank you. Okay.
No, he wears it in the Dia de los Muertos parade.
Okay.
And it's the reason why he wears it again is because it is the only outfit he owns that is made of UMF, or unstable molecule fabric, which is a fabric that was developed by the Fantastic Four,
right?
So that Reed Richards can stretch and not like fall out of his pants,
and so that Johnny Storm's like
clothes
don't
won't burn off, and he's like, "Hey, everybody, check me out."
And so Sue is actually effectual, and her clothes go away.
Yeah, as opposed to just being like, "You're right there. I can see your clothes,"
or having to get naked every time she wants to like use her powers,
much like in Mystery Men.
Yeah. Oh, we were in Mystery Men, yeah. Well, except you have to like not look at him too.
But it works.
I notice he has these hooks on his hands. Is that how he climbs walls?
Yes.
Does he not have Spider-Man?
He does not have his wall crawling ability per se. He
Right.
has talons on his fingers and toes. And so he actually has to like embed himself into the surfaces that he adheres to.
So he's doing damage as he
Yes. Or if he like, let's say, wants to adhere to someone's clothes or their face.
Right.
Much like, what was it, Superior Spider-Man?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in fact, Spider-Man 2099 shows up in Superior Spider-Man, and so Dan Slott, I think, sees some parallels there. But yeah, he also has this this fabric that looks like webbing.
Yeah.
And that's like adhered to his back, and it's actually made from like a glider that he bumps into some other guy who uses it.
And it just sticks to him. And he's like, this is on me now.
Well, it's like a
Does it help him float?
It helps him float. It's like a high fibrous thing that like catches wind really easily. So it allows him to glide because he doesn't have webbing yet. Later, he'll discover that he can organically produce webbing, which is the first time that we see like a person generate webbing as opposed to
a device.
So we can blame Tobey Maguire on this.
I guess.
A little bit.
No, I guarantee you Hollywood did not read this shit. No, they were just like. So he makes webs too, right? He shoots those webs. Like he makes those. It's like, well, he built like little thing. That's unrealistic.
He makes it. How could he possibly build that? They come out of his body.
Yeah, that's
much like a spider.
Yeah, his body rearranges its friggin' like organs and stuff,
right?
And
so that he can
web sacks into his wrist.
Yeah,
like a spider.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Shoots webbing from their arms, right?
That makes way more sense than a person building something that does that.
Right.
Well, they use their feet to like build the web, right? A little bit. They like grapple with it and like manipulate it that way. Yeah, but it comes out their butt.
It comes out
Miguel mentions that.
Well, we
by the
can't
way.
do that. It's coming out of his wrist.
When he discovers that he has webbing, he's like, I guess I should be thankful it's not coming out of my ass. And I'm like, and I'm like, by the way, thanks a lot, Peter David, for addressing that joke
Yeah.
and getting in front of it.
Yeah, pretty good, and for being like smart enough,
Yes.
to refer to the anatomy of a spider.
And that's the idea, is that Miguel O'Hara is like a super genius.
Okay.
His origins are he was born into like a kind of lower middle class family, and he really like tested out of a lot of his schools. And if you have like really, really genius kids, the overseeing governmental corporate body that exists in your region, and since they're on the East Coast, it's Alchemex. Alchemex looks for the best and brightest, and then like if you test into their program, they accept you, they send you to Alchemex's School for Gifted Youngsters up in Westchester, which we assume
that's amazing.
They must have, like, when the X-Men all died, they appropriated Xavier's
or
mansion
they killed the X-Men
and
who
took
did.
their shit.
Yeah.
So, but they
I noticed
have this,
you have a lot of cool stuff here.
Yes, I would like it.
I'm gonna start putting copyrights and patents on all things that
Eminent
you have.
domain.
Or they are the X-Men.
No.
No.
What's left of it? No.
No
It's a shame.
mutants. Miguel goes to the Alchemix school, and then he gets brought into the Alchemix program, and he basically gets promoted all the way through, and he's like a brilliant geneticist, and he's like he's put on their like corporate espionage program, because the idea is that like Alchemix is an evil they're all evil corporations, and they're all like doing badness, and they know that if they don't like provide a police force, people will riot, and so they're like, fine, there's this really corrupt police force we created and own, so that they'll take care of you if you can pay for it, and blah blah. So we can get back to trying to take over other corporations and amassing more power and influence and money. So they're actually building like corporate spies, and they've been genetically engineering humans, and not growing them from scratch, but rather enhancing humans, because there haven't been any enhanced humans since the end of the heroic age. So they're like, we gotta start so they're actually, Alchemix is actually building like an underwater city, which they're dubbing Atlantis, and they've made like fishmen who will like be able to breathe and swim underwater to build this shit for them. And later they're gonna riot and try and like take over their little Atlantean compound, and they'll have to deal with them. But in the meantime, it's just evidence of Alchemix's genetics engineering program.
What happened to actual Atlantis?
That's a good question. So Miguel is looking to make a name for himself in this company, even more so than before, and he's digging through the old archives, and he discovers like Spider-Man, and he goes, listen,
What archives of what?
archives that are like remnants from the old world.
And I'm guessing like of the superheroes that they want to emulate.
Yes. And
Is
so
this
he's
like
like,
a future library he's at, or
no, well, I think Alchemix owns it, and it's within the confines of their office, because he literally just has like cards that have pictures of Spider-Man, and he's talking
Who
to
drew this?
Yeah,
This has no information on
it's
it.
a photo, I think, and it's just like left over from whatever.
But they have that because they're looking into enhanced individuals from the past to like recreate.
Well,
or
yeah,
use it as a
I think
guide.
Miguel is looking for inspiration. Like,
I mean, the way the company would have this stuff lying around.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So Miguel's like, this Spider-Man guy, he can walk on walls, he can crawl in air ducts, he can like, he has an early warning detection center, like he can really find, like he'd be a perfect corporate spy. So
Yes.
that's my next program. We're going to start looking into genetically modifying humans with like spider DNA to try and make a Spider-Man for Alchemix. And he's talking, he's a flippant pain in the ass jackass. And but the funny thing is, when Peter David jumped onto the project and was like, I'm going to make Spider-Man, he's like, it has to be a very different Spider-Man. We don't want to have like a redundant Spider-Man. Like, oh, it's Peter Parker in the future. So this guy, Miguel O'Hara, is a major dick. He is a super genius who knows
Peter
it.
Parker's really likable, so
Let's
this
make
guy's
him-
got to be the opposite of that.
Yes. And so,
And because of that, he'll still be Spider-Man.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so he's flippant like Spider-Man, but he's also like digging and biting and cynical and sarcastic. He has no hope for the future, and he hates everybody. And
So he's a product of his time.
yes, he's very Rick. So the whole first issue is him like just being really flippant and dickish to everyone that cares about him. Despite his terrible like social handicap, he's also engaged to this woman named Dana, who actually used to sleep with his brother, Gabriel. And his brother Gabriel is also like, he's dating a girl now, revolutionary, and she's like, the corporations are ruining everything, and we gotta fight. And he's like, yeah.
And Miguel's now like, I work for the corporations, eat it.
Yeah. And Gabriel's like, you gotta quit, it's terrible. And he's like, yeah, it's really bad making money and having health insurance, living in a high-rise, and literally there's nothing you can do about it. The government is these corporations. If you take down these corporations, there's nothing left to take over. Like, and also, you're a moron, and screw you. Like, the idea was there were these two brothers who were raised together, and two brothers. The book's called Two Brothers. So Gabriel's like the emotional one, and Miguel's the smart one. He's like, Gabe, like, this woman is like, she wants you to like light fires and take over the government. Like, you know,
she's gonna get you killed.
Like 6 months ago, there was a girl who wanted you to get into yoga, and like 6 months before that, there was a girl that like was really into crystals. Like, come on, man. And like,
so he just takes on whatever.
He just takes on the properties of whatever girl he's dating, and like that's a superpower. And, like, I know a lot of people who have that superpower.
Yeah.
This universe sucks, and it's so depressing. So anyway,
well, we skipped ahead here because he hasn't even become.
He hasn't even become. All right, so he builds. So he's like, okay, I'm working on this. Like, I'm working on this program. It's gonna work out great. He has this like dickish, wormy assistant who's like an opportunist, and he wants. Gabriel.
Like, he would be his evil sidekick if he was a bad guy.
Yes. Well, he is a bad guy, but he's also like, fuck you, Miguel. Like, you're younger than me. You're smarter than me. You're a dick to me all the time. Like,
so why are you getting all these opportunities and I'm not?
Yeah.
I've been with this company for longer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, Miguel.
Was that him on the next page?
Yeah. He's literally a Snidely Whiplash.
I have never seen a more nefarious picture.
They're gonna run an experiment. They have like a plan already.
Spider-Man?
Well, I think it's before. He's like, my next step will be Spider-Man when we're done with like animal trials.
Okay.
So, but his boss.
I'm gonna make Spider Cat.
Yeah. His boss, Tiberius Stone, is like, okay, we need to bump it up to human trials because like I've got plans and blah blah blah. So, and he's like, well, no one's gonna agree to do that. And he's like, actually, I have this guy. He needs like money and like he was a criminal or whatever. We're gonna help him out.
We just grab some guy off the street.
We just grab some guy.
The future. It's a dystopian future.
Yeah, we just grabbed anybody. And the guy's like, yeah, I'm taking like I'm down. Like I'm in. Whatever the cost. The world sucks. I'm in.
I guarantee you could find like hundreds of people.
Exactly. So they put him in, and he gets mutated into like a horrible freak, and like
of course,
and then dies.
Oh, he just dies immediately?
He like melts and dies.
Wow, that sucks for that guy.
Yeah. And Gabriel's like, fuck that. That sucks. I quit. I'm out. Done.
Oh, no. Wow.
No.
That's it. That's the line.
Literally, he was like, I don't think this is a good idea. It's a bad move. I'm not on board. And they're like, and the guy's like, come on, do it. And he's like, this is a really bad idea. Like, I mean, the guy who's going to get experimented on. He's like, Mr. Sims, this is a bad idea. You shouldn't do this. He's like, come on, man. I'm down. I don't care. Fuck the consequence I'm in. And he's like, okay. Right? Does it? He's like, ah! Like he
kill him.
He flies it up,
yeah,
and then dies. And he's like, okay, no. And so he's like, he meets with the boss, and the boss is like, fair enough. Like, I get it. Like, let's.
It was pretty gross.
It was pretty gross. Here's the thing. Like, let's have a drink. We'll talk about it, and like, you take a day off or two, and then like, we'll
and then come back on Monday, and we'll try it again,
and we'll revisit it.
We'll have a spitballing session.
Yeah, we'll work it out. And he's like, no.
Spitball, I mean, we'll just keep taking people and experimenting.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So he's like, he drinks his wine. He says like, I'm not going to do that. He goes, well, here's the problem. The wine you just drank is a horribly addictive drug that adheres itself to your genetic structure and makes you genetically predisposed to be addicted to this drug.
Okay.
And so you are now addicted to this drug, and you need it. And I'm the only, and Alchemist's the only company.
It's heroin.
It's heroin.
It's almost as if he's a geneticist and he should just be able to figure out how to counteract it.
Well, he does.
Super hard.
Gabriel's like, okay, so I've been using my own genetic structure in my genetic experiments, like in virtual models and stuff. So I have like a backup copy of my genetic structure within the mold of my of this thing.
Has he been using his genetic structure like that scene in Jurassic Park where they're rotating?
With virtual reality.
I wanted to say that. I'm like, nobody's gonna fucking get that reference. Thinking machine, supercomputers, virtual reality, break down the strand of... What?
Not even close.
What the hell did you
Why
just
would
say?
they do that?
You just strung together
Where did you come from?
It doesn't make any sense. Like, so I've made a 3D model of the DNA structure, and I'm just pulling out parts.
Yeah. Here's 1/1,000,000th of it that I'm looking at right here, and I'll just go in here.
Yeah, and I can physically move it with
and
my...
if I move these things around, it'll take me about 10,000 years to reconstruct the code. Like, what are you doing?
No, his code is in like the computer, and he's like, okay, it should work. I just get in the thing, and I basically just overwrite my current genetic structure with my previous
old code.
Yes.
Oh, he's like restoring the backup. Of
Yes!
The code. That's
Okay.
cool.
I like that.
Yeah.
And so he's in the thing, and his douchey
The
assistant.
spider crawls into the machine.
Yo, that would be the fly.
No, that is the fly.
No, the assistant is like, stupid Miguel O'Hara, treat me like shit. And he's there, and he goes like, oh, he's in the machine. Okay, like, how would you like to be a spider? And he puts like the spider program that Miguel was working on into it. He goes, I know that it makes you a horrible genetic freak,
And you're
So-
gonna melt.
yeah.
So fuck you.
So he puts it in the thing, and he
I've already flipped you off twice this episode.
right?
Sorry.
It's all right. So I'm used to it. So he overloads the system and also imprints like spider DNA on him, and then it explodes, and Miguel comes out, and he's got spider powers.
Interesting. So now he doesn't turn into a mutant. What? Because the machine overloaded, or because the genetic
Right, like
addicted thing like protected him? Or
it
whatever.
could be anything we don't know.
Okay.
And in fact,
All we
like,
know is the machine is destroyed and it can never be recreated.
well, yeah, not without Miguel's help because he's the genius who built it.
Right.
And also the overarching
blueprints.
plot, of course. The overarching plot is Miguel trying to find a cure for his
So
Spider-Man.
he's still addicted. Oh.
No.
no.
Oh no! It
Oh.
did cure him of his
Oh,
addiction,
okay.
but also gave him the spider powers.
And he doesn't want them?
No, because they're not like he's not Spider-Man.
He's got like 6 eyes.
No, because with great power comes great responsibility.
And
And
he
he
doesn't
doesn't
want
want that
that.
responsibility.
No, it's true. He does. Someone throws that at him, and he's like, "That is so stupid."
Tell me he saw it like on a tombstone somewhere.
No, his brother tells it to him.
Ah.
The idea of the
What?
superheroes
Yeah,
is
they're like a myth.
they
passed into
okay.
legend.
There's a religion of people called Thorites who worship they're Christians. They believe in the second coming of Thor, and that Thor will one day come and save them from this dystopian future.
Oh, wow.
And Spider-Man was a disciple of Thor, like Captain America and
Yes.
Iron Man. And so it's all muddled. So literally,
fantastic.
when Miguel gets his powers, as you can see, like he could see in the dark, and he looks like a freaking.
fangs.
He's got fangs. He has talons.
Okay, so I thought those talons on his fingers.
Yeah.
I thought he made those.
No, they
because
come
he
out of
couldn't
his
cling
flesh.
To walls.
Yeah.
but no, they're his. Spiders don't have those though.
No, they don't.
I think they do.
no.
Well, some spiders have like
For
jagged
spiders,
edges.
it's more like what Spider-Man has, which is that they're like tiny, little, itsy bitsy, microscopic things that help you
Yeah.
adhere.
They're small, but on him, they're bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're not actual spikes.
Well, in this, they're spikes, and so
He's like static cling or
and
something.
he
yeah.
can't get them
I thought
to
they were
retract.
hairs.
Eventually, he learns. Like he teaches himself, like biologically. He's like, okay, if they, because at some point, like later, he'll go to bed, and when he wakes up, his bed is destroyed because he like slept and moved, and he shredded his bed, and he's like,
Thank God
"How-"
he didn't masturbate.
Right. Well, he's like, how did I not destroy myself?
Right.
And then he tries to touch himself, and they automatically retract when they come into contact with his own flesh. And he goes, oh, thank God, because going to the bathroom would be a nightmare. And that's code for masturbating. So
Yeah.
he,
Who's this woman who I keep seeing?
the holographic woman
that's
is
his AI,
That's
right?
Lila, his home AI. Actually, he and his former lover designed her, and she's like she's kind of one of a kind, and she's this like she's Alexa.
Oh, thank God. I was like,
Or Siri.
he
Or
and his
Siri.
former lover designed
Cortana.
her. I'm like,
She's
that's
their
weird.
daughter. No, she's just.
Does she
Li-
look like his former lover?
No,
No.
no.
thank God.
She looks like Marilyn Monroe.
Honey, I want to make you, but a virtual you that I can control.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like she wouldn't be cool though with him making this like hot chick with big boobs.
Yeah. Well, later she's like, there's actually like 400 different versions of me you haven't sampled yet. Would you like to see some of them? And he's like, why not?
Oh.
And we cycle through a couple. Like one's a punk rocker who's like yelling at him. Another one is Alfred, and then another one becomes Aunt May. And she's like, "Oh dear, after like you should take better care of yourself, and afterwards I'll make you some milk and cookies. I worry about you so much." Kill that one, and then Lila deletes it.
What? Kill it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
delete it. I don't ever want to see that again. That's weird and gross. I like the sexy one that you are. He looks like a monster right now because like he's just been transformed. Aaron, this douche who like tried to kill him, he's like, "Oh shit, he didn't die." He tries to shoot at him, and now he's discovered he has spider powers
sense
and
as
spider
well.
agility.
Yeah.
Aaron shoots like a
thing
generator that
up.
blows up half the building, and then he like falls out. His talons are digging into his flesh and peeling his skin off his arm.
Oh.
So he just bats him away and then falls and plummets to his death.
Oh my god. Gross.
Yeah.
That's what you get, Dick.
Yeah. And then the public eye shows up, and they're like, "Holy shit, this monster dude just killed that guy!" And then Spider-Man jumps out the window to kill himself. He's like, fuck this.
What?
Yeah, because he's like, I'm a genetic freak. The machine's destroyed, and fuck this. So he just jumps out the window. And as he's falling, he's like, I don't want to die.
Wait, no.
Which is apparently a thing. Like, a lot of people who try to commit suicide, like, if they jump, usually, they realize, like, halfway down, like, oh, shit, this is a mistake.
How would you know?
Well, because a lot of people who have
they
survived.
survive,
There's like, actually a big like Golden Gate Bridge like blog about like people who have survived their attempt at jumping off the Golden Gate Bridge.
Gotcha.
So he climbs to the roof and he realizes like, I don't know how I'm gonna get home. And that's when he bumps into a Thorite who's like hang gliding and proselytizing from the air like, repent sinners, Thor is here!
Oh my god.
And then he jumps onto the hang glider guy and his talons manage to shred the hang glider material, and the guy who's the Thorite is like, who are you? And he says, I'm the Easter Bunny, I'm Santa Claus, I'm Spider-Man, take your pick. And the Thorite goes, Spider-Man, a harbinger of Thor! Of course, it's my sworn duty to protect you! Take some of the material from this and cover your face. Spider-Man must be masked after all! And don't forget, Thor's coming!
Oh my god, that's
And he
great.
goes, sweet, I'll set a place for him at the dinner table.
And that's his webbing.
Yeah, well, it's the webbing on his back.
Yeah.
And the guy who runs the company is like, you know, he wants to get Spider-Man for his own purposes. Like, he finds out about this guy. By the way, he thinks... At first, they think that Aaron, the douchey guy, is Spider-Man because, like, he was there and he's disappeared, and Spider-Man shows up, and Miguel snuck into the corporation to do all these things because he knew that, like, if Stone figured out that he was there to try to cure his own thing, he'd try to have him assassinated or something.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah. So then we meet this new character named Venture, who is like a for-hire tracker, and he's like the 2099 Kraven the Hunter.
Uh-huh. Okay.
But
Yeah, he is. He even has a spear.
yeah, and he's just like a cool Cowboy Bebop character.
Yeah.
And so he hunts down and he tracks and hunts down Spider-Man.
Okay.
Spider-Man jumps through the window and breaks it, and then he's like, okay. And there's a lot of humor infused into this book where he's like, all right, I got the ultralight stuff on my back. It should catch an updraft just about now. Now. He's just plummeting.
Yeah,
and then
it's a hang glider material, but if you don't have a frame on it, it's
shaped right,
it's just a
everything.
cape.
Yeah. So he catches it just at an angle, and he kicks the dude in the face.
Oh.
So he fights Venture, and Venture like uses the people around him as like collateral. He's like, "Oh, if you're Spider-Man, you care about these people, and they're all like losers and don't owe me money." So blah 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 blah. And Spider-Man's like, "What the fuck's the matter with you?" So he beats the shit out of them, or he tries to, but he's like, he has no fighting experience or skills
And Venture
whatsoever.
is incredibly skilled, right?
Yes.
Yeah, he's a mercenary.
So Venture's like giving him a really hard time, and he's also like older than him, and he's giving him like sage advice while he's fighting him. You know, he's like, son, you're not gonna win. I'm going to kill you. Like, you better stop. Like, and by the way, Venture was hired by Alchemax to bring him home alive. But
so he can't just kill him.
So he can't just kill him. So that's why Venture doesn't just assassinate him right off the bat. So they fight, and while they're fighting,
Is he a robot?
he's a cyborg.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So then the ninja shows up and he kidnaps Casey, Gabriel's girlfriend, and takes her away. And shit. So Spider-Man fights Venture, and it's like a really crazy, like all-out brawl. And eventually he does get the upper hand, and like barely manages to defeat him.
Okay.
And he beats him, and he's like, "Holy shit! I beat that guy." Like, he was way more powerful than me.
Yeah, but I'm so strong and spider abilities and whatnot.
Yeah, and in
I'm
fact,
so strong, and I have claws.
yeah. He attempts to throw Venture off his scent because he's like, if he's tracking my body signature, he's going to track me going from Alchemix through the lobby, up the stairs, into my apartment, and then out my window. So I need to like fix that.
I need to mask the scent or whatever.
So what he does is he double backs as Spider-Man,
Okay.
and then leads Venture on a chase through the apartment and out the window. And he tells Lila, like, Lila, okay, when he asks you where I am, you need to say, the maniac jumped through the window. Okay, Lila? Good girl. And then jumps out the window. And then Venture goes, which way did he go? And she goes, that madman, he went out the window. Okay, Lila? Good girl.
That's really funny.
Jesus, Lila.
Oh, she's...
And they're like, what? All right, well, there he went.
Whatever.
So then they follow him.
Thanks
So
for that bit.
now he's,
Yeah.
so he covers his tracks, and so, but then this private security force that works for Stone at the Alchemix like goes to Gabriel's apartment and like gets him and brings him to Alchemax. And Gabriel's like, "Hey," or Miguel. Anyway, so then he brings Miguel to his apartment or to Alchemax. Miguel's like, "Hey, so what's the matter? What's going on?" And they're like,
Hey, what
you know,
why is everything destroyed?
yeah. And they're like, "We think that your assistant / douchey guy is Spider-Man, and we want you to work for Alchemax. And it looks like you've managed to find more of this drug that we sell from the third market.
Because I see you're not.
Because I see you're not like crawling around
appear
and
to be
scratching
fine.
at bugs under your skin." And he's like, "Yeah, I figured out how to score. So yeah, thanks." And it's because he's got to like obfuscate his drug addiction.
So he's figured out how to retract his claws by now.
Oh yeah, he figures that out. Yeah. When he conveniently needs to, he does.
Yeah.
But he basically agrees to work for Alchemax anyway because he wants to keep an eye on them. And so he does, and that's when the samurai guy brings Casey to Alchemax because she's a rabble rouser or something.
Right,
just
like
for
she was
the things
wanting
she's
to
been
throw
doing.
down, or not throw down, but take down all the
corporations and everything. And Gabriel gets Miguel involved because he's like, "My girlfriend got kidnapped by this corporate dude, and you got to do something
You
about
work
it."
there.
And you work there. Use your connections. And Miguel's like, "All right, I'll try." Casey ends up at Alchemax, and then as she's being led to, the idea is that she gets arrested and then sold to Alchemax for genetic engineering. They're like, "We need to keep doing experiments, and so we're using like prisoners for it." And Casey's like a pain in the ass rabble rouser, so like let's use her.
Let's kill two birds with one stone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they're leading her to be like pretty much killed, but maybe
Well, maybe
experimented
she'll
on.
survive and have cool powers.
Yeah, and then we'll use her somehow to
Right.
gain the upper hand on Stark's company.
Is this where the art changed?
No, and that's what I thought, but no, Leonardi's art changes like sporadically, and it's the same.
What has to do with deadlines?
Yeah, almost certainly, but it's the same artist and inker combo until it's somebody else. It's Kelly Jones's art, and it's very different. But
Okay.
even then, like Leonardi's art changes drastically from page to page because there's some moments that look really, really awesome, and then there's some that look really, really weird and slipshod.
Yeah,
So-
like this one.
Yeah. Casey winds up grabbing the gun off of one of the security forces and then taking Miguel O'Hara hostage.
Oh, wow.
And she's like, "He's one of your big brains. Like, you better."
Oh, I'll blow him out.
Yeah, I'll blow him away. And Miguel's
His brains, I mean.
right. And Miguel's like, "So you're my brother's girlfriend? You fucking pain in my ass.
God damn it.
God damn it."
I'm not looking
So they
forward
don't.
to
He doesn't know her, and she doesn't know him.
Right. They don't know each other.
Oh, she's taking her would-be rescuer hostage. This is gonna be great.
Yeah. No, so, yes, they don't know anything about each other.
Okay.
And he just leads her out the door, and then she escapes. But then she is attacked by the samurai guy again.
Sure.
And so Spider-Man, puts on the affix. He's like, "This is Case. This is my brother's girlfriend. I gotta
guess I
help
gotta
her."
save her.
So then he fights...
Where was he hiding that this whole time?
Yeah, right? Yeah. Well, no, he's wearing it underneath his clothes.
Oh, okay.
Just in case... Because they're made of unstable molecules. So he's like, "In case my clothes get shattered, I'll just, put on Spider-Man and then leave."
I guess the mask is very similar to the Spider-Man mask because it doesn't look like it's separate. Oh, he's pulling it up.
No, it is separate.
It is
Yeah.
separate, yeah.
Good.
No, he keeps it in his
a
pocket.
pocket or what he had.
And he also discovers his webbing during this period because he's trying to grab something and it shoots. Actually, no, somebody grabs his arm and it triggers like a mechanism in his biology that shoots the webbing.
Okay.
But so yeah, now Spider-Man is webbing,
And now he gets to fight a samurai.
and he fights this weird samurai. And
Future Samurai.
yes, good call. So
Samurai 2099.
right, so he's fighting the samurai, and he's like, this guy's got actual abilities.
Oh, yeah.
This is gonna be a real problem.
Yeah.
This guy's worse than that tracker guy.
But he does
Is he?
wind up kind of defeating him. He doesn't kill him, but he does defeat him. And
Well, he defeats him. The samurai now has to take his own life because he's ashamed.
yeah, well, no, what happens is he is indebted to honor. The idea is that the Stark Company is more Eastern and Japanese based,
Okay.
and so they're honor bound to do things when they get into a turf war or when they get into a skirmish with another company, they have to see it through to the end. They can't just be "This is costing too much, we have to stop."
Right.
And Alchemax wanted them to get involved in one of those so that they'll deplete the resources and get distracted so that Alchemax can gain the upper hand. It's just it's all corporate espionage and stuff, which is probably why as an 8-year-old I thought this was the most boring thing I've ever read in my life.
Yeah.
So Spider-Man fights the samurai dude, and he's like, the guy keeps like, he's like a broken record. He keeps like repeating the same shit over and over again.
Right.
And you know, Spider-Man's like trying to reason with him, and he's like, you know, you got to stop doing this, and it's like you're being used, and this is bullshit, and you're letting people get like caught up in the crossfire and all that shit. And Samurai Guy's like, yes, but that remains irrelevant because I am honor bound to do this. And Spider-Man's like, you are such a pain in my ass, and just blindly like slashes at him and winds up like cutting his throat on camera from the public eye, and everyone's like, oh my god, Spider-Man's like hardcore.
This random person here is like, oh, he cut his throat.
That's Casey. She's like,
Oh,
what?
that's Casey? Oh.
Yeah. And
You were holding a gun to somebody's head, lady.
yeah, honey, don't throw stones.
Yeah.
So then the public eye shoots at him, at Spider-Man,
And then this guy goes Super Saiyan.
yeah, that's the boss of Alchemax, because
Yeah,
Alchemax
because he doesn't want him to die.
he doesn't want him to die. And by the
supposed to
way,
use
like
him.
when Spider-Man first like came on the scene, he embarrassed this like public eye member, and then this guy is like part of the squad that's gonna go like capture Spider-Man. And because Spider-Man like slashed the throat of this dude, he's like, okay, screw Spider-Man, attack! And then he gets like a subplot like Bill the goddamn pony, where like he is disgraced, and Stone's like, you went off book and like just and probably killed like the thing that is gonna save this company, and so it's like, screw you. So he like fires him with extreme prejudice and like gives away his apartment and everything, and then he gets hired by another rival company and then gets experimented on and turned into another supervillain.
God
And
damn
at this
it.
point, the publishers have to be like, whoa, look.
Yeah, whoa, slow it down.
I wanted you to tell a Spider-Man story.
You're
I don't know what you're doing with this guy.
There's
way
all
off
this
board,
stuff.
man.
Like you got like 16 different companies, and they all have super people, and there's corporate like like espionage and
World
sabotage.
building.
Yeah, thanks. So
I'm setting up villains for future conflicts within my current book. It's genius.
and indeed he is.
Yeah.
What issue you on? 3?
Yeah. No, we're on.
How about you save it for later?
Yeah, we're on 6. So in issue 6, Spider-Man falls like off the high rise and basically falls all the way downtown.
Okay.
To
we
Wait,
haven't
we
seen
still
this
haven't been
before?
downtown?
we haven't been downtown, and downtown is just what I described. It's just it's
Do
shitty.
they call
and-
it downtown?
They call it downtown.
They all sing downtown?
They sing downtown
This'll
from
be
Little Shop of
great.
Horrors.
Yeah.
So Spider-Man is like messed up because he fell like
He fell really far.
600 stories, some
They
nonsense.
landed in garbage.
Yeah, and landed in garbage. And he's
Luckily,
just-
it broke his fall.
yeah. Well, I think
It
the
was
idea is
metal girder
because he
broke his fall.
remembers like falling. He's like he has like partial amnesia, and his ribs are broken, and he's bleeding out. And he's like he is for all intents and purposes dying.
Okay.
And the only reason why he's not dead is because like as he was falling, he like slowed his descent and then just like but he kept hitting buildings on the way down. So he's like messed up
He was
beyond
just
repair.
pinballing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he beats the shit out of these like subcontracted private eye or public eye mercenaries
Okay.
who are supposed to be like the local police force, but are actually going to shake down this poor woman and her daughter.
Okay.
And Spider-Man like beats the shit out of them, saves them, and then steals their ride, which is this really cool all-terrain vehicle.
It's the spider buggy.
It is the spider buggy. So he gets into it and he's like, computer, like, take me to my apartment. You know, take me to Babylon Towers. And they're like, you can't, like, destination
there from
outside
here.
perimeter. You
Yeah.
can't get there from here. The car won't let you go there. And so he's like, okay, then, like, just get me out of here. And then at some point he said he muses about going to a hospital. And so the car takes him to, like, a medical center. And he runs into, like, this, actually, the car's parked outside the medical center. And this doctor sees it and knows that it's one of those terrible like mercenaries, and he's like, "Oh, we're paid up for the month. What do they want?" Goes outside, sees Spider-Man in there, and then immediately helps him out and patches him up because the doctor is a Thorite.
I was gonna say, who's Emir? Because she yells Emir's bones.
She says, Ymir's bones. It's actually an exclamation that Thor used to yell.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, so they believe in like Norse gods and whatnot. But the doctor's a Thorite, and so they're like,
My goodness, one of the disciples!
yes, they're like, I am obliged to help you. You're Spider-Man. And he's like, Jesus Christ.
Kind of. Yeah.
Like,
Have you had any word from Thor yet?
yeah, have you heard anything? Did you put in a good word for
We're
me?
waiting for a long time.
So Spider-Man gets patched up, and the public eye shows up and like attacks Spider-Man. In fact, the public eye that's sent by Alchemax bumps into the magistrates, or the mercenaries.
Yeah.
And they're like, I am in on this. That Spider-Man guy kicked my ass. I want revenge. And so like, fine. So they all go and they converge on like the location of the buggy that Spider-Man stole. So they're about to like kick the shit out of Spider-Man or kill him or whatever. And that's when the Vulture shows up and kills all of them.
Oh.
and takes him away. And Vulture's this cool like biker guy with vulture wings.
Is he the Vulture or is he the Vulture 2?
Well, he's the new Vulture.
He's the new Vulture.
But he calls
he's
himself
Vulture 2099.
Yeah, but he's like,
We're
let's go,
also gonna see
Spider-Man.
a scorpion, and a rhino.
Right?
Yeah,
I'm
Rhino
thinking we're gonna.
2099.
Then they don't show up. But so
Green
Vulture.
Goblin 2099.
Yeah, there's a hobgoblin of a way further future that Peter David creates, and he's part of this universe. So
God damn it!
I know it's not. He has
Well,
he has what's known as retcon bombs, and he hits things with them, and it makes them like unmake existence without like hurting the continuity. Yeah,
What?
yeah. He's the main antagonist of the Spider-Man 2099 Spider-Man crossover. It's not
That's
talked about.
terrible.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Casey sees that Spider-Man got like messed up by the public eye and risked his life to save her from the samurai dude. So she like steals a public eye hover transport and like chases after to save Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
And she bumps into Vulture, who's absconding with Spider-Man, and so like they get into a fight. And there's a whole subplot of like of Miguel O'Hara's fiance Dana, who used to date Gabe, and how she's like, I'm worried about Miguel and what's going to happen. So I just wanted to mention that's a thing. When he first gets his powers, he like backhands her and gives her a black eye because he's like blindly freaking out. So
he
Get
wasn't
away
fine.
from me!
yeah, but you also get the impression that like maybe he might also just be abusive.
Like, he doesn't feel too bad about it.
No, and in fact, like she has a suspicious bruise on her face from earlier, and you're like, what the fuck?
God.
Okay, so much like when Peter backhanded Mary Jane.
Yeah, well, no.
No.
Unlike that, this happened, and people still talk about it. The idea is that Miguel is a bad guy
Yeah.
who learns to be a better person.
Oh, he does.
Yeah, well, through being Spider-Man, he winds up like discovering that because he was a member of the social elite, he like didn't regard or even know. He's never been downtown. He's never
Right, he
seen
has no
this
idea what
world.
it's
He has
like.
no idea what it's like.
I thought he was born into it.
He was born into like lower middle class.
But he hasn't been there in a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spider-Man gets taken to Vulture's lair. Vulture introduces him to his like lieutenants and stuff, and he's like, "You're gonna work for me and stuff. It's gonna be great." And he's like a real creep and weird. And that's when Spider-Man discovers that there's all these like skulls and bones in his place, and he's eating this bowl of suspicious fluid. And he's like,
You're
"Yeah,
a Vulture.
yeah, I'm a vulture. I'm like,
I
I'm a
eat-
cannibal."
We eat the dead.
Yes, no, I kill the people. I eat the dead after I kill them.
I'm not
Exactly.
a cannibal. Those
Yeah.
are humans. I'm a vulture.
No, he is not like that. He's like I'm. He's like I'm like. He's a creepy fucking weirdo who kills people and eats their bodies. And
And he wants Spider-Man to join him so that Spider-Man can inject his venom so that it's easier to eat them.
no, he's just like
These
You're a
bones are
predator
such a pain in the
too.
You're
You
a predator.
also eat.
yes, exactly. Like, well, you're a predator. You should be part of like my squad.
So, okay, he ambushed all those people just randomly, or he knew Spider-Man was there?
He heard Spider-Man was there, and he
Okay.
wanted to get him and bring him into his fold.
Right.
Or-
So we could be a team.
Under
we could
his
be a
wing.
cannibal team.
Precisely.
As to say.
yeah. So Spider-Man is like, and Miguel O'Hara has never seen anything like this in his life.
Is it always like this down here?
Yeah,
Vultures and
that's
shit
his
eating
response.
people?
So he just mercilessly beats the shit out of this guy, but he's still like green, and it's still hard to do. So
And he still won't kill him.
the fight, well, so they get through this like big fight, and Vulture's like, I got maneuverability and I got flight on my side, and so Spider-Man's like trying to keep
Yeah.
distance, and then ultimately he does get Vulture where he wants him, and then he winds up screwing up his wings so that Vulture's like fall, because Vulture's whole plan is that he wants to like he has a great offense to like the public eye and their hover stuff and all the,
Sure.
the flying cars.
Right.
He's like, I want to rule the skies. That's like my aspiration. So
Is this the art change?
no, not yet.
Nope.
No,
Oh
that
my
happens
God.
before, but
It keeps happening.
yeah.
Like,
Well, no, it's just the art gets sloppy.
Yeah.
As Leonardo gets like
Or it gets a little better and then it gets sloppy. Yeah,
yes. So Spider-Man winds up luring Vulture into like a kind of like construction area, and he uses the tight corners to like kick the crap out of him, and then trap him in a web, and then he kicks Vulture through the web, and then just his wings get all gummed up, and he just falls. And he goes, "Okay, I should be able to hit him with my web line, but I'm not gonna fucking do that," and just lets him fall to his death.
Wow. All right.
He's like, he reaches out to do it, and then he goes,
No.
But why though?
"Right,
He
but
eats people.
he eats people, so fuck this guy."
Yeah.
And just lets him die.
All right.
And you're like, right on.
I'm
You
not
know
gonna
what?
kill you, but I don't have to.
Kudos to this Spider-Man.
We meet Casey and her Freedom Fighter team, and
Oh.
she's like, man, this Spider-Man guy's really awesome. He saved my life, even though he didn't have to, and I didn't pay him for anything. And so, like, we got to get him on our team. And so Alchemix is trying to get Spider-Man for their purposes, and Casey's trying to get Spider-Man for her purposes.
And torn.
Yeah, and she's also like, he has a really cute butt, that Spider-Man. Like, he is hot. And Gabriel's starting to suspect that Miguel is Spider-Man, so he's like, damn it! Everybody that I want or have been with either has fucked my brother or wants to fuck my brother, and my brother's always been smarter than me and better than me in every way. This is my supervillain origin story, but we don't get there.
Yeah.
So Gabriel's being pulled in different directions, and Miguel is like, whatever, I'm just trying to not be Spider-Man anymore, but every time I try not to be, they pull me back in. Then the art changes and Spider-Man looks like the goddamn Hulk.
You just change...
What is happening?
Right,
That's not how muscles look.
Those are his, like, side muscles, right?
What?
Right, Kelly Jones?
I've got like 15 abs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Like 30 abs.
but that's, so,
My abs have abs.
yeah. So, right? So, Spider-Man bumps into, like, another public eye dude and steals his ride, because he's still trying to get uptown. Like, he's still stuck downtown, and he's like...
It's like a motorized snail.
Yeah, well, you know, these are the
characters
cool...
aren't weirdly distinct enough. Let's
Right.
get a new artist in here.
Let's get someone who, like, would draw something like Judge Dredd.
I was thinking Dredd, yeah, with
With a chin.
Everything
Well,
with
yeah,
the
the
chins.
chin and the grimace.
Well, and, like, the future, like, tech around him and stuff.
Yeah. We haven't seen these bikes before, have we?
This is Kelly Jones' version of the bikes we've already seen.
No, that's a totally different thing.
I know. So Spider-Man beats up this annoying public eye dude, and then he's like, the public eye's looking for me. I killed, like, 2 people and in a very public way, and, like, everyone's trying to get me, and so I guess I'll kick the crap out of this dude and then put on his public eye outfit and then ride his thing home.
Oh, okay.
And so
Good idea.
he tries to, but then suddenly he gets a call and he runs into the other Flyboys who are like part of his squad, and they're like,
let's go.
"No, come on! They've got a Spider-Man sighting. We gotta go." And he's like, "Spider-Man sighting? All right, let's go."
Wait, I gotta see this.
Yeah. So he goes, and all these Spider-ites are here. You see, Spider-Man has started a revolution where there are Thorites who dress like Thor. Well, now there are people who are starting to worship Spider-Man. So then there's all these pretenders who are dressing up as Spider-Man, and
How
like,
long has it been?
it's been like a day.
I was just gonna say, like, what?
News
how-
travels
how has
really
this already
fast.
happened?
Yeah. So Spider-Man, like,
Do we even see in the book like a news broadcast
No.
showing how everyone's seen this?
No, you only see
yeah, well,
the
we
one
see
where he's
where
like,
Dana and Gabriel and Casey have seen that on the public eye.
Okay.
and also like where he slit that guy's throat.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But that's
And-
it.
Yeah. So there's all
That's
these
enough.
like annoying pretenders, and like some of them are like, I'm a Spider-Ite. I've been imbued with powers of Spider-Man. Watch as I jump off this building. And so Miguel's like, holy crap! So he goes down there and like hits him with at one point he hits one of them with a web line, and he swings him away, and the guy's like, I'm doing it! I'm swinging! It's working!
Like Buzz
You're not
Lightyear.
swinging. You're
Yeah.
falling with style.
Like Buzz Lightyear. And he's like, stop! You gotta stop! He's like, no, you don't understand. My powers have finally manifested. It's my duty to be Spider-Man. And he's like, he's like, no, I did it. I'm Spider-Man, you freaking idiot. And he's like, oh, okay. Well, what do you wish of me, Spider-Man? He's like, I want you to forget doing this and be a regular person and leave forever. And he's like, okay.
I can't believe you don't like this book. This is great.
That's like the world of Spider-Man 2099 is like Spider-Man just haplessly falling
Yeah,
into
just
one
one
blunder to
thing
another.
after another, yeah.
And Alchemix just... The worst scenes are the ones where like Stone is sitting at his desk talking
Wringing
to
his hands.
and talking to like a shrouded figure who's like, "You're screwing up, Stone. What are you going to do about this?" And you're like, "Oh my god!" And like, by the way, the son of the guy who owns Alchemix went to school with Miguel, and so they're like childhood rivals, and it's just like gets
Yeah.
so
just
incestuous
like
and
Harry.
annoying. Yeah, it's just
Yeah,
like
it's a lot like Spider-Man. Like it's like a cracked mirror version of Spider-Man.
it is very cracked mirror. We wrap up the first volume with Gabe calls Miguel and he's like, "It's Mom. She's sick. We got to go visit her." And they go there and Mom is seemingly on her deathbed, and she's like, "Gabriel, you've always been the good son. Is Miguel here, or are you just pretending he's here? I'm going blind." And Miguel's like, "Mom, knock it off." And she's like, "No, wait, I see a light. My brother, my sons, I love you." And then she dies. And Miguel's like, "Jesus Christ, Mom, knock it off." And she's like, "Well, I could be dying. You don't know." And so it's apparent that his mom is like an attention-seeking woman, and she's like kind of off a rocker, and she, like, this is what he was raised under. And also, like, his dad left, and so, like, we see a flashback to, like, his father, who's like, yeah, my boy, he's my meal ticket. He's like Miguel, and fuck Gabe, he's an idiot, and he cares too much about things. Like, but Gabe, or but Miguel, he's going places. And so, like, he pushed Miguel and forced his, like, intelligence to be, like, relied upon. And he confronts his mom, and his mom's like, you have always been a disappointment because you're, like, selfish, and you treat your family horribly, and you treat everyone horribly, and you're just a monster. And, like, I've traded you for, like, a better son. Like, because there's someone else that I worship now, and it's Spider-Man. She has this, like, altar to Spider-Man that she keeps.
God damn it.
And
Okay, the passage of time here, I'm very confused.
It's literally been, like, a couple of hours.
She built an altar?
While he's been doing this thing.
All right.
You don't know anything about him!
I can kind of buy this, only because if social media has taught us anything, it's
Yeah.
that fads come and go
viral.
really
That's true,
fast.
Yeah, Spider-Man went viral.
If people things that go viral in like a day, here in like 3 hours in the future,
Spider-Man's already become like a
This
national
is,
sensation.
This is in 100 years from pretty much when it's written.
Yeah.
that's actually weirdly believable. Okay,
She's like, this is a selfless person. This person who cares about people, who does things for people who without any benefit. And it's funny because, like, she's not wrong to be awed by that, because no one is like that in this future.
right, but.
And Spider-Man's
say
like,
something like that to your son,
is
kind
horrible.
of messed up.
And Miguel's
Especially
like,
when he is Spider-Man.
yes. Well, Miguel's like,
He's like, oh my god, this.
well, Miguel's like,
happening?
what if Spider-Man is just some idiot who fucked up real bad, and he doesn't want to be Spider-Man at all, but he keeps being asked to be Spider-Man by random people who desperately need him to be Spider-Man? What about that? And she's like, there's no way that's true. And he's like, well, it is, because I am Spider-Man. And she laughs in his face, and then buries her face in his hand in his chest while he tries to show her his talons. And she's like, oh my god, you are jealous of Spider-Man? Like, you poor boy. I didn't even know you were capable of being jealous of anything. Like,
And the second she looks at him, his talons go away because he still hasn't controlled it.
yeah, and he's just like, but he basically uses this experience as kind of like a wake-up call. And he's like, you know, I don't want to be Spider-Man, but I keep being Spider-Man, and every time I am Spider-Man, the right people are telling me I'm doing the right thing, and the wrong people are being pissed. And so there's like a big demonstration of people who are like inspired by Spider-Man. There's Thorites and Spiderites and whatnot. And the public eye shows up, and they're like, disperse before we shoot you. And then Spider-Man shows up and beats the crap out of all of them and grabs one of the public eye cameras, and he's like, hey, all the corporations that are running everything,
I'm coming after you.
I'm not leaving, and I'm coming after you. And so you're like,
I want you.
I want you! And so you're like, cool. And he's like, I'm going to be Spider-Man. And then, like, Doctor Doom takes over the world, and Spider-Man joins him.
What? What?
Because Doctor Doom's like, this is bullshit, I'm taking over. The only way to save the world is to take over. Spider-Man 2099, everybody! That was ridiculous and silly, but, man, cool costume, though.
Yeah, it's nice to look at that once in a while.
That's the takeaway from this book, I think.
Cool costume.
Cool costume, though.
And you know what? I'll make this volume available in the description box below this video. You can get a copy of it for yourself. If you so choose, I suggest you check it out. If you had any interest in Spider-Man 2099, this is the make or break it for you.
Yeah.
If you can get through this and you go, yeah!
Or, if you're reading Spider-Man 2099 right now,
And you're like,
wanna
what?
know, like, where'd he come from?
Go back. Because I guarantee you they're using this as the baseline, because they tried to do it again, where they did this book called, like, Time Storm 2009 to 2099 or something like that. And they tried to, like, retcon it so that, like, Miguel is in high school and he becomes Spider-Man 2099. It's just awful. Just garbage. And they were like, nah, never mind. So bad. No, and it got so bad before that, like in the 90s, where all the books basically just tanked, and so they just condensed like what's going to happen in 2099. They took all those characters, condensed it into one book.
oh, so
like, if you
Spider-Man
want-
2099 came out, or just 2099.
Just 2099, the book. And so, like, if you want to know what's happening with Spider-Man, you got to deal with like all this bullshit about the Hulk and the X-Men and Punisher, I guess, and Doom. It's so stupid. The only thing that's cool about Doom is that it's original Doom.
Yeah, which should be possible.
No, well, it's convoluted. We'll see you guys next week with an all-new episode. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody. I'm Sal.
I'm Ethan.
And I'm Ben.
Thanks for watching. Bye.